All right, good morning, everyone. I hope you all are having a great start to your spring semester. It's going to be a good one. So to start off class today, we have the McGraw-Hill rep, Miss Antoinette Moore. She's going to tell you all about Connect Master that this class is using. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to her.
I was hoping for a little bit more time, but I guess it kind of is what it is, right? So, anybody's birthday today? Anybody's birthday this week? It's a reason I'm asking. Okay, I am giving away free Connect service. So, if you have another class that has Connect, my info is at the bottom. Message me and I'll get it for you. See, that's what happens when you answer questions around here. So, you guys are going to be using Connect, as he said, and we are doing a lot of stuff for students just like you guys. So, you've told us you're sick of buying books, right? Yes? Nope? Still like spending money on books instead of beer? Okay. So, we have given you guys Connect Master. Connect Master is without a book, it's just online service, and it's about 20 points, right? 20% of their grade. So, everybody wants to know how to use that, right? So we're going to teach you how to get registered if you haven't already used Connect before. So you can go ahead with the next slide. Oh, thanks. Okay. So the most important part, staying organized, do school. You guys know how to do this, right? I don't have to tell you about it. Okay. So normally this will cost you $90. Guess how much it costs you this semester? Anybody? Hello? Anybody? $0. It's free. All you have to do when you get ready to register, you'll go directly through Canvas. You'll click register on the McGraw-Hill Connect tab. You'll begin, and all you need to do is enter that code right there. Got it? Cost you $0. If you weren't listening, paying attention, it might cost you 90. Okay, so if you guys have any questions or any issues, because there's always that one person who has an issue at 11 o'clock, the homework's due at 11:59, and you decide, I'm going to be smart and message my professor, right? Nobody? I've been there, so I'm just speaking for a personal experience then. So what we want you to know is that although Mr. Miller, future Dr. Miller, is so amazing, but he's not tech support. If you have any issues, call us. We are open almost 24/7, Monday through Thursday. And if you are like me and you don't want to talk to somebody from Sri Lanka at 10 o'clock at night because everybody from the U.S. has gone home, I suggest you guys email or chat with us. Simple enough? How much does it cost? And it's 20% of your grade. Stay organized, do the homework before the fact, and if you have any issues, please let us know. Cool? Easy enough? Have a great semester, guys.
Well, thanks, Antoinette. We certainly appreciate that, especially the price is very good. I don't think you'll find a better deal on a university campus, but we're not going to go into too much details there. So good afternoon, or good morning, rather. Certainly good to see all of you. It's good to be back in a lecture hall. I always like the environment that they have where you're in a class, lots of people, and you have a professor who's on the stage, and he just tells bad jokes all class. That's what he does. Can you believe it? So anyway, with that out of the way, though, I do want to welcome you all to class. If I weren't wearing this mask, you'd see a smile a mile wide on my face. It's very good to be here. In case you didn't understand things just a little bit, this is a spring course, spring 2020. It's going to run the standard schedule. You should be able to see access to every single thing inside of Canvas. That includes exams. They have their window availability. I should certainly make sure that you pay attention to that. Of course, the lectures will be in this room right here, McCool 124, from 11:10 a.m. to 12:25 p.m. So for now, we're going to stick to the hybrid course day assignment, which kind of tells you if you're scheduled to attend on Tuesdays or Thursdays. In a couple weeks, I'll probably send out a survey and see what people think, if they want to attend in person or if they want to attend only online, just to kind of make sure that the course is available to as many people as possible, however they prefer to view it. So I think that makes a lot of sense, but for now we're just going to stick to that, kind of see what happens. I'm going to run through my favorite part of the semester, the university policies. Anyone ever heard of any of these before? I just made them up, didn't I? No, I didn't make them up. So of course we have the honor code. Don't cheat. If you cheat, I'm not going to be too happy. Most things don't really bother me, but when it comes to academic integrity, it reflects poorly on us all. So I ask that you not cheat. If you have disabilities, make sure you go to the disability services and get all that paperwork squared away. Certainly that's a good thing to do. I believe they're in Montgomery Hall, is that right? I'm not too good on the building names. I know McCool, and that's really all I need to know. So anyway, they're certainly on campus. Title IX, I certainly strongly encourage you to not sexually harass or sexually assault anyone in this class. That's something that would be very bad to do. And that's certainly something I don't want to have to deal with. So I'm going to say it's not going to happen. So, but Title IX, they do have an office if you have any issues with anything. Campus safety, we have a university police department. They can certainly assist you if you witness a crime. If you're a criminal, they could probably lock you up, I guess. But hopefully that's not going to apply to anyone in here either. Mask, the university does have a mask policy. You're supposed to wear a mask inside of the buildings, so certainly make sure you adhere to that. Delivery changes, I'll make sure to let you all know if I'm going to change any of the course delivery. Anything like that, it'll be done through email and also through the lecture. So speaking of the lectures, I am recording this, so I will upload this to my YouTube channel after the fact. I would live stream it. I don't have an issue doing that. The only issue is that I'm just not so sure about wireless network congestion with so many people in here, so many devices. It could cause issues. I want to have the highest quality possible. So certainly, if you're watching this, go ahead and drop a comment about the audio quality, stuff like that. Anything I can improve on, I'm certainly happy to do so as possible. So just make sure you look through the syllabus, particularly if you're having some trouble sleeping at night. The last 2 pages should help you out with that. Okay. So another important policy, if you're sick, please don't attend class physically. I have lots of different symptoms up there. If you have any of those or anything else that could be infectious, I ask that you stay home. I think that's a pretty reasonable request there. I don't think we want to have any sort of issues with that. So let's talk about me. So my name is Andrew Miller. In class and in email, I ask that you refer to me as Mr. Miller. Certainly if you see me outside of class and you're not going to ask me about anything for class, you can certainly call me Andrew. But just to keep things nice and formal, I do ask that you refer to me as Mr. Miller in that course context. So one of my biggest hobbies is tennis. Anyone play tennis in here? Do you think you could beat me? Well, I don't know either. But, certainly is a fun thing to do in Starkville. Starkville has many other fun things to do. Who can name some off? We have some golf courses. We got the links. We've got the campus golf course as well. What else do you guys do for fun around here? Yeah, I was trying to get some ideas of fun stuff to do. I guess sleep. Yeah, I guess that's always, it's always an option, I guess. So yeah, we do live in an area that has some things to do. Maybe there are other areas that have other things to do as well. But kind of on that, the type of research that I do is primarily about business analytics, looking at how technologies can affect the marginal effect on the financial performance of a firm. So that's what I'm all about, but doesn't really affect this course that much. However, this course is all about managing technology. It's all about using technology to gain firm value. So it's kind of related, which is a good thing. So talk about my contact information a little bit. My office is on the 2nd floor. It's in the Graduate Studies in Business Suite, in office 200M, as in Mike. So if you ever want to stop by, there's my office hours. I may be in the office at other times as well, but those are the times that I quote guarantee it. I guess the caveat is that I probably come down here right at 10:50 to get everything set up. So definitely come earlier rather than later into the office hour. But I'm also available via appointment. If you can't make the office hour, just shoot me an email. Let me know when you can. We'll certainly work something out. I want to be reasonable there. So you can, of course, email. That should be pretty straightforward. Also, if you need to meet via Teams, that's certainly an option as well. My Teams is the same as my university email. So that's basically like the Skype. And then beyond that, you can also probably find a lot of the information you're looking for online. So I've got a quick little, I got a quick little animation here of a search engine. We're just going to pull that up real fast. It's kind of a funny way to get class started here. So say you wanted to do something like change a column table size inside of Word. And you're like, I don't know how to do that. Well, what you could do, this has the steps on here for you. You're going to go to google.com. You're going to type in the information that you're looking for. It's going to give it a little bit of time here. That's why I'm not live streaming in this room. Can you believe how that would go? So it's going to do a web search, and it's going to go ahead and show us all the stuff you can need to know. So just a little sarcastic way for me to kind of show you that you can certainly ask me questions, but I would ask that you make an effort to find the answer first. So fair enough? Okay. So here's a course mission statement. Basically, like I say, this course is all about using technology to enhance our firm value. What we mean by firm value doesn't necessarily mean the market capitalization of a firm. Is that what we're talking about with firm value? Are we talking about making our firm more efficient? Making sure that we can sell products at a lower price? Well, the truth is that firm performance could mean any of those things, and it could mean many other things we don't have time to talk about at this exact moment. But certainly, as we consider what this course is about, think about technology in the context of the firm. So we're not going to get bogged down with specific technologies. Certainly, this is not a technical course. It's a managerial course. So from that in mind, we're going to focus on this from a managerial perspective. So that's what the course is all about. I certainly encourage you to take notes. I've got some software listed up here you can use. You can use whatever you like. I really don't care. There's plenty of different options available. And this is something I'd encourage you to do because if you take notes, you're probably going to do better. On the exams, they're open book, open note, open internet as well. And that may sound like they're going to be easy, but I wouldn't recommend thinking about them in terms of being easy. They have an average that's probably not indicative of an easy exam. So I'd certainly encourage you to come to class, pay attention, take notes. So basically, you'll notice my PowerPoint slides, they're bulletized. It's a business presentation. Instead of a business presentation, it's all about forming the connections with the speech. It's not about having all the connections where you read them off word for word. That'd be pretty boring if I did that. I don't like to be so boring. So certainly, I'd encourage you to take notes. One thing I have done this semester, you'll see at the bottom of Canvas, I've actually posted the textbook slides. So we'll talk about the textbook in a couple slides here, but basically we're kind of using two different textbooks this semester. We have the McGraw-Hill for Connect Master. We're using that for 6 chapters, basically. And then we're using the other for the lecture and for everything else. So certainly keep that in mind. You should be able to find the textbook relatively low cost, probably, I'd say, well, I'm not going to give you a number, but you can certainly find it from various sources. I am unfortunately not able to recommend anything other than the campus bookstore per contractual obligation, but there probably are other places, if you know what I mean. So, kind of going back to notes. If I write something down, it's pretty important. I don't write many things down, but there are certainly going to be some things throughout the semester that I will write down. In future classes, I'll probably bring in a tablet and probably do some graphs and show you what a change in something will do to, say, supply or demand curve, do stuff like that. So that's certainly going to be important to keep note of, and like I say, however you choose to do it, perfectly fine with me. The only thing I ask is that you don't do anything crazily distracting. So you can certainly use any application you want, but if your application is something that has a lot of sound with it, I'd ask that you not do that. But basically, like I say, anything goes. So talking about the exams a little bit. Who likes exams in here? No one likes a good exam. Well, that's unfortunate. So I'm not sure that I like a good exam either, but it's certainly better than a bad exam. I think we can agree on that. So the exams in here, I'd say roughly 80% of the material you can find in the book. But 100% of the material will be covered inside of the course lectures. So I'm not going to ask any questions on the exam that are not amply covered inside of the course lecture. So with that in mind, I'd certainly encourage you to pay attention to the lectures. There's going to be a lot of overlap. 80 plus 100 is 180%. So if you only do one or the other, you'll probably pass the class. But you'll probably pass it with a much higher grade if you do both. So certainly I'd recommend you keep that in mind. And, when it comes to it, you think about it, if it's open book, open note, do you need to memorize everything? You probably don't, because you can easily find the information if you've been following along throughout the semester. Whereas if you have not, you may have some trouble. So there are going to be timed exams. You'll have just over a minute per question. And I'd certainly recommend that you do them whenever you have the chance. I'd also recommend that you exchange contact information with people in the class. We'll probably do that after we dismiss, if you choose to. I'm not requiring it, of course. But it's a good idea, especially in a lecture section like this, to have people you can reach out to have people you can text if you have an issue. Maybe you missed class one day. Of course, it's not so much of an issue now that you can just go on my YouTube channel and watch the lecture, but maybe you don't feel like doing that. I don't require you to watch anything, but ultimately I require you to know the material. So, kind of make of that what you will there. Each exam is going to be 20% of your grade. There will be 3 exams in total. For the final exam, it will not be optional. However, what I will do, since it is cumulative, if you do better on the final than one of your 2 previous exams, I'll replace it. So what I mean by that, just kind of clarify. Let's say you get an 80 on the first exam, a 90 on the second exam, and 100 on the third exam. What I would do is I would take that 80 and replace it with 100. So I wouldn't actually replace it, but in the calculation, I'm going to do 3 different calculations. I'm going to do one calculation where each of the 3 exams is weighted equally, so they're all 20%. I'm going to do another calculation where I weight the first exam and the final exam, only the final exam will be weighted twice as much. So the first exam will be 20%, the second exam will be 40% of your grade. And then the third way I'm going to calculate it is I would do the first exam will be worth 0%, second exam will be worth 20%, and the final would be worth 40%. So I'm just going to take whichever one of those 3 is highest, and that will be your final exam average. So certainly recommend that you do well on the final, because it can help your grade out pretty substantially. But like I said, the final is going to be a pretty long exam. They want us to have it 3 hours, so unfortunately I've got to go with the university policy on that one and set it at 3 hours. So any questions about the exams? Any questions about anything so far? Always feel free to ask questions. I know it's a lecture class, but I'm always happy to address questions. Let's take a quick look in Canvas. Anyone been in Canvas yet? Let's just take a quick look in Canvas and see what we've got in there. It seems like every semester in Canvas I always forget to publish something or something going on with Canvas. So let's see. Does you all's Canvas look like this at all? So you should see the course home. I've got the syllabus here. Got the due dates. This is an interesting document. It's not something I usually do, but since we're doing several different due dates this semester, I decided to put this inside a separate document. We've got the schedule, course schedule here. So let's take a quick look at this as well. Basically, this just kind of has what we're doing each class. And the due dates have what is due. So, you can kind of see here, this lists each and every course lecture, tells you what exam the stuff is going to be on, and all that sort of stuff. But the due dates are probably going to be, a little bit more interesting. I'm not going to say interesting, but they're going to be more useful. So you can see here for each day what is due. So looking at this, we have a due date coming up on the 19th. That's going to be the Connect Master for the first chapter, which is investigating MIS. So you're certainly going to make sure you do that. Pretty much all the due dates on here, unless otherwise noted, are going to be due at 11:59 p.m. So that is, I believe, next Tuesday. Yeah, that's right. So certainly make sure that you do that. And yeah, it's pretty straightforward there. The due dates. Go back to the course. So yeah, certainly we have the assignments, but basically, here's a little gripe I have with Canvas. You can tell there's a lot of assignments inside the Connect Master module there. Unfortunately, I don't have a way to sort them by due date. It'd be nice if I could go over here and sort by due date, but unfortunately I can't do that. So basically what I'd recommend doing is just looking over on the right side. I think it has your due dates over here, if I'm not mistaken. If not, I'd certainly recommend that you look through them and very carefully go through and just make sure that you do the ones that are due. So here's one for the 19th. If we scroll down, we should see some others. Here's a case study to do. Here's a quiz. And yeah, you don't have to worry about this one. It's due in 2100. I don't think many of us will still be around in 2100. Maybe a few. Kind of depends there, but don't worry about that. You don't actually have to submit that one. But what I'm going to do for these Connect Masters is I'll just weight them all equally. So a quiz will be weighted the same as a whatever the other assignments are. So it's going to be a raw average. I'll probably do some stuff to add in some bonus points here and there. Certainly stuff like that I'm not going to be so concerned with. But then apart from that, we also have quizzes. So the quizzes are going to be inside the actual units. So you can see we have Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3, Chapter 10. And those all have their due dates listed as well. So just make sure that you do everything before the due date and you won't have any issues. I don't accept late work, so certainly you don't want to have any problems there. Of course, your grades are also going to be inside of Canvas. It's pretty self-explanatory, I think. Basically, you'll go inside the grade book. You'll see how you did on the assignments. For things like exams, I'll probably have the grade posted immediately. However, I almost always curve exams a couple points, so you probably won't see that reflected until a little bit after the fact. So certainly keep a lookout for that. You'll have the raw exam score, and then I'll go ahead and apply the curve there. So shouldn't be any big worries there. So yeah, you can certainly see the schedule posted, the grades, the PowerPoint files. Anyone have any issues accessing anything in there? Might be the first semester where no one's had any issues accessing something in Canvas. You'd think I'd learned something over the years. So yeah, basically everything's in Canvas. The only exception, I guess, are the lectures, and I still put a link to those inside of Canvas. So certainly I would encourage you to look at all that. Like I said, if you have any questions, see me after class. I'm certainly happy to address anything. So the homework, different than the Connect Master assignments. The homework is just those quizzes. They're open book, open note, open anything really. Just go through. It's going to be a matching quiz. They're going to be 20% of your grade. They're going to be due 11:59 p.m., just like almost everything else in here. And a very important thing is that I don't accept late work. So make sure that you do them early. They don't take very long. The matching quizzes in particular, they should only take you, I'd say 10 minutes at most. Maybe they'll take you 15, but it's 10 questions. You got the glossary in the book. You've got Quizlet. However you want to do them, I really don't care. But just make sure that you're doing them in a reasonable time frame. I'm not trying to bog you down with a bunch of work or anything. So let's talk about attendance a little bit. Important thing to note, I'm required to take attendance, but I'm not required to do anything with attendance. So what I mean by that is the scanners are going to be active from 10:55 a.m. until, I believe, 11:20 a.m. because I think it's 15 minutes before and 10 minutes after class begins. If you scan in, great. If you don't, I'm not going to penalize you in any way, so you certainly don't have to worry about any of that. If you don't feel like attending, that's perfectly fine. If you do feel like attending, that's also perfectly fine. I'll let you make your decisions however you see fit. So I'm not going to do anything with that. If you're in some organization that requires you to attend classes, I'm happy to put whatever you want me to put in there. If you want to be marked present every day, I could certainly do that. If you want to be marked present 50% of the time, just, whatever you need, let me know. I can also, of course, send you an email saying I don't do anything with attendance. But again, I promise you, you won't have to worry about attendance in here. Is that clear to everybody? So again, I'd encourage you to attend, but I don't require it. So, And the only reason they activate at 10:55 and not earlier is because that's the earliest the system lets me do it. It's 15 minutes before class starts. So if you get here early, that's certainly fine, but just make sure that you scan in if you want to scan in. I don't even require that you scan in, of course. So we've talked about Connect Master a good bit. Have you all been able to get into Connect Master? The code works? Yeah, pretty shrewd negotiating I did to get that for free, I gotta say. I don't mean to pat myself on the back or anything, but we're certainly grateful to have that. I'll just go ahead and let you all know. That's part of a beta program, so throughout the semester, I'll probably send out a survey or two asking about what you think of it to get your feedback. I'll probably offer extra credit in exchange for you doing it, and certainly extra credit is a good thing. I don't think anyone dislikes extra credit. If you do dislike extra credit, then I don't have anything clever to say. I don't know what to say there. But certainly, I'd encourage you to go ahead and get inside Connect Master. There's the code right there. It's in the syllabus. It's also all over Canvas. So certainly, I'd encourage you to do that whenever you get a chance. And you'll make sure to access it through your Canvas. Make sure you use your university email address just to make sure it's not going to have any issues tying your gradebook in. If there are any issues, just like I say, make sure you contact their support. Their support links are in my syllabus, and I believe also there's a sheet inside of Canvas that goes through their support. So they've got a couple different websites you can go to and reach out to them. They guarantee that if you contact them, they'll have you an answer within 24 hours. So if you have a problem with some assignment or whatever, they guarantee you 24-hour turnaround, which is pretty good. So certainly make sure that you do that. If there's any issues with the grades, let me know. I'm happy to adjust things however I see fit. So shouldn't be any issues there. We've talked about exams. How to calculate your grade. This question I get a good bit. Basically, what you're going to do is you're going to take your average of your quizzes. That's going to be your average quiz grade. You're going to take your average of your Connect Master assignments. It's going to be your Connect Master grade. Then you're going to take the average of your exams. It's going to be your exams grade. And then all you have to do is just apply the percentages to them. So in this case, I've got them as a decimal, 0.2. We could also multiply them by 20% and be the exact same thing. So certainly, you take whatever your average is for that category and just multiply it out, add those together. And if I do any course bonus points, you'll add those in at the end as well, unweighted. So I don't know if I'm going to do that or not. We'll see how things are going. But certainly, that's how we would calculate our grades. I've got a YouTube video on that. Just because it's a frequently asked question I get, how to calculate grades. A lot of you probably know how, but if you're having issues, I'd certainly encourage you to check out that YouTube video. And unfortunately, here's another gripe I have with Canvas. It has the grade calculation built in. What's the issue with that is that I can't disable it. I like to do things like drop the lowest assignment. For example, I'll drop the lowest quiz grade. And there's not really a good way to do that. I could do that quite easily inside of Excel, but I can't, unfortunately, do that inside of Canvas. So I can't disable it. It's going to be there, but please just ignore the automatic grade calculation and just, if you're having issues, calculate it yourself. I'll also calculate it after each exam and before the progress grades window. So yeah, I mean, I'd certainly encourage you to take a look and see how you're doing on each assignment. But as far as Canvas is concerned, it's just a limitation with Canvas that I can't disable it, unfortunately, and it's just going to be there. So any questions about this so far? Okay, so grade distribution, pretty straightforward. I grade at the thousandths level, so if you have an 89.500, you have an A. If you have an 89.499, you have a B. So certainly keep that in mind. I don't deviate from this, so I'd encourage you to do what you can early in the semester to make sure that you can coast through the rest of the semester with the grades you want, I guess. Probably not advice I should be giving, to be honest, but you've taken classes before, you know how to do things. So other policies, I do ask that you be respectful. It's certainly a very good thing to have is respect. Just makes everything go a lot smoother. And when you're in here, I certainly would like for you all to be in here, but I would ask that you not distract others. If you want to distract yourself, that's fine, but just please don't be distracting those around you. I don't require attendance or anything, so if you don't want to be here, it's not going to hurt my feelings at all if you don't. But I certainly would encourage you all to be here, especially if you'd like to be here. And then beyond that, if something's unclear, certainly ask questions. Before and after lectures are a great time to do so. Office hour, email, during the lecture. I certainly, every couple slides, try to make sure there's no glaring questions that I have. I'm happy to address anything at any point, basically. So the textbook we'll be using in here, again, it's not the same as ConnectMaster, but you don't need to purchase Wiley Plus. It's just going to be this textbook up here, Introduction to Information Systems. I forgot to bring mine today. But basically, I've been around long enough. I've got the 6th, 7th, and 8th version. The table of contents are pretty much the same. Everything else is pretty much the same. So whichever version you want to get there should work fine. So certainly keep that in mind. The one thing I will say is if you go much older in the 6th version, I can't promise you that they wouldn't have made any changes. There will be some slight changes between the versions, but nothing that should cause you any issues. So whichever version you want to get, perfectly okay to get. We won't be assigning any problems directly from them, so you don't have to worry about that. Like, for example, some people like to assign problems, like they'll say go to page 200 or whatever, and you don't have to worry about any of that. You've already seen all the assignments inside of Canvas. You don't necessarily have to have the book to do them, although I'd encourage you to purchase the book. So just to kind of conclude, wrap things up, I'm looking forward to a great semester in here. I think it's going to be a very smooth one. Certainly I want everyone in this room to do their best and to succeed. And most importantly, I want you to leave this class being more knowledgeable about how to apply technology to enhance firm performance. So, any questions? Well, it's kind of a sneaky way to end class because we're not ending class yet. So we're going to talk briefly about email etiquette. This is going to be the first topic we're going to cover. So when we talk about email etiquette, we're talking about making sure that we send professional emails. And this could be to colleagues, this could be to people who work for you. This could also be to people who are your boss. So we're going to talk about how you would send an email and how you would not send an email as well. Both of them are very important to know. So I've got a quick survey here. If you'll just go here, it's optional, but I'd encourage you to fill it out. We'll talk about these at the end of class. Just kind of get some participation today. It's not for a grade either, so feel free to put whatever you want on there. All right, has everyone had a chance to navigate to it? Okay, so you can continue to fill it out, of course, but I just want to make sure everyone had navigated to it. Just a kind of quick little way to get some participation. I certainly like to have participation. It's difficult to do in a class this size, of course. But on that note, isn't this the best auditorium on campus? I tell you, one of my friends, the meat processing plant they've got on campus? I don't know what the building name is, but I was in there with him, helping him get everything set up, and I was looking at the chairs, and they were all cracked, and they were plastic, and I'm like, oh, goodness, they must have liked me more than they liked you. So certainly glad to be in this room. It's a great room. So to avoid any copyright issues, we're not going to play this email, but I'm just going to kind of scrub through it to show the different emails that they do. So basically, the whole premise of this little thing is that you have a guy who doesn't know how to send an email, and he goes through several iterations. He works with the Writing Center on improving his email communication. So I'm just going to kind of skip to where he starts the email. I think is right around here. This is his first email. It says, "I be so mixed up teach. This thing is confusing. I need some help. Please get back with me soon." So who's got an opinion on this email? No right or wrong answers here. It's unprofessional? Why do you say that? Okay, certainly is. Is the grammar in this email good? Is the spelling good? Is it even clear what his central message is? What thing? He never defines the thing. Using an ambiguous pronoun definition like that can certainly lead to some ambiguity in what you're trying to convey. So there's certainly some issues here. I think it's a funny email, but it's not a very good one. So let's skip forward a little bit inside of this clip and find wherever he sends the next
midterm
email,
essay,
which is right here. It says, "Hey, I have no idea what I'm doing on this midterm essay. I'm so confused. Help." So is this email better or is it worse? Okay, why do you guys say it's better? Well, at least it's clear as to what is confused about. He's confused about the midterm essay. So it certainly is better. Again, the grammar and everything is certainly better. He ran it through spell check, I guess. But there's still some issues. He doesn't say what he's confused about the midterm essay for. So, certainly there's still some room for improvement within this email, but at least it's better. I prefer to see a good greeting and closing, that sort of thing. But we'll see what he does at the end for this last email here. So he closes out, he meets with the Writing Center one more time, gets another stab at the email. He says, "Mrs. Gutenberg, I'm having trouble coming up with a good topic for my final assignment. Could you please send me some examples of topics I could choose to write? Thank you, Bill." Now, who thinks this is better than the previous email? I tend to agree. We see a very clear opening. It's very clear as to what he's having issue with inside the final assignment. He doesn't know what to write about. And then he closes his email with the closing there. "Thank you, Bill." Now, one of the funny things I always like to point out is he goes back and forth to the Writing Center, and they don't tell him how to write. I think that's kind of humorous. They tell him how to do an email to ask how to write. Probably not that funny. It'd be funnier if you watched the video. But again, I don't want to get my stream taken down or anything like that. So unfortunately, probably won't be able to watch too many videos in here. That may not be true. I'll look around and see in my recording software what we can do there. But for now, we'll probably just do it this way. So, one of the best important ways to ensure that your email is very clear is to have a greeting, to have a closing. So there's lots of different ways to do this. You start off the email, you say, "Good afternoon," "Good morning," whatever their name is. If you're on a first name basis, you'd say, "Good morning, Andrew." If you're not on a first name basis, you'd say something like, "Good morning, Mr. Miller." Then you go skip a line. Of course, start out with what your body is. What are you going to talk about inside the email? And then once you're done with all that, you have a closing. This can be respectfully, comma, name, sincerely, thank you, thanks. Lots of different options here. You want to keep it nice and formal for most business emails. There will be, of course, some exceptions, but we're not going to cover exceptions. We're going to stick to the basics in here. So when we're talking about the body of an email, we don't want it to be too long. Anyone like getting pages and pages of email inside their email? That's not very good. You want to keep your emails, I'd say, 6 sentences or less. Now, if you have to send out more information, you can always use an attachment. So, for example, when I sent you the welcome to class email, you'll notice that I didn't send the entire syllabus inside of the email. I attached it as an attachment. Can you imagine if I just did a Control-C, Control-V, and pasted the whole syllabus in there? be pretty difficult to read, would it not? So again, we want to do things like making sure we're making good use of our attachments. And then beyond that, if you have at the bottom below the greeting, or below the closing rather, you may have information about you. It's going to be like your title, sometimes referred to as an email signature. That's where you're going to put like your position, maybe if you're at a company. You can put like your other contact information. You can certainly put your phone number. I've seen some people put their email address. I find that kind of humorous because, the whole point of an email is you have their email address inherently. So not a huge reason to put an email address on an email, but some people do. So anything like that, where your office is located. I personally don't use one, but if you do use one, you certainly want to keep it 6 lines or less. That's just a rule of thumb. If you're at 7, it's not necessarily the end of the world, but I know some people have like a 20-line signature. And I'm thinking, who's going to read 20 lines of your signature? Probably not me, but maybe some people would. And then, one of the most important things in an email, you don't want to ramble. If you're going through, say what you need to say, and that's it. You don't need to go into a whole story, anything like that. Just make it nice and concise. Make sure that you're covering every single thing you need to. So you want to make sure that you're kind of having the email be very concise, yet also very covering everything. Those are the 2 things you're balancing there. Of course, we talked about making sure you're using a professional tone. Along these lines, never be angry inside of an email. You can be angry, but please don't put that inside of an email because this is something that can follow you for the rest of your life. And that sounds kind of dramatic, but there's certainly lots of examples, if we thought about them, of people who've sent an email that they later regretted. And it did have some adverse impact on maybe their professional career, maybe their standing in the community, lots of different things. So, I would recommend if you're going to be upset to call someone on the phone, maybe deal with it that way, meet them face to face. You'll be able to work things out a lot better than over email. You don't want to be passive aggressive. So certainly keep that in mind. There could be some cases, though, where you need to be firm. Maybe a company is having an issue with their product and you're wanting a refund. You can certainly be firm, but don't be rude. So certainly keep that in mind. Another thing along with this, there's certain cases where you would want to send an email, but there's a lot of cases where it's highly inappropriate to send an email. If you're notifying someone of something like a death, you probably don't want to send that via email. I hate to be so blunt, but that's certainly not a good thing to do. It'd be much better at minimum to do a phone call there. So just kind of keep that stuff in mind. But another important thing within an email, have a good subject. So the subject should say what the email is about. And that sounds very obvious, but it's something that's often overlooked. So when you have a good subject, it's very clear as to what the email is about, and it can also be the difference between it getting read and not getting read. So I tend to read most of my emails I get, and I certainly try to respond within 24 hours, except for Sundays. But certainly, having a good subject can certainly be very beneficial. Not necessarily just for me, but for, wherever you end up professionally. If you're sending off applications, that sort of thing, it's very important to have a meaningful subject there. I would try to keep this under 8 words if possible. If you have to go over a little bit, that's fine, but certainly you don't want to have a subject that is your entire message either. That could be certainly pretty troubling. And you don't want to not send a subject at all. You want to have that perfect balance there. Some other kind of things to go through. I find it very beneficial to have what you want the person to do. So you give them the background, and then you say, what do you want from them? So you put that at the end, whatever you're requesting. That's going to be something where you put basically at the last line before you get into the closing. So that just kind of helps people easily kind of see. And if you have it broken down in what your certain categories are, it's going to be a lot more easy to tell what are you trying to accomplish with the email. So you always want to make sure that you're using proper grammar inside of an email. Why is that? Well, you don't want to look dumb. I mean, that's the reason. You certainly want to look as intelligent as possible inside an email. So certainly make sure that you're following the proper syntax for everything and that you're not having any sort of grammatical mistakes or spelling mistakes in particular. And then it's important that email is kind of known as an asynchronous means of communication. So what that means is that you send or reply, you send a message, and then whenever the person gets a chance, they send you something back. Now this kind of contrasts with something like instant messaging. Now, if you hear the title instant messaging, that implies you're going to get a relatively instant response. I'm not saying that you always do, but that's the idea. So it's going to be asynchronous. And, as long as you're responding within a day, you should be fine from a professional standpoint. Now, if it's with your immediate supervisor, boss, you probably want to respond a little quicker than within a day, but it depends on the work environment. Certainly, there are different kind of etiquette for different environments. And then lastly, like I was kind of going through earlier, make sure that you're using bullet points or numbered lists, something like that. If you have 3 different items that you're going to talk about, why not number them 1, 2, 3? If you have 3 different reasons for wanting something, why not use some bullets? You have lots of different options there. It just helps with readability. So we've talked about when not to send issues. Like I said, if it's a sensitive issue, don't send an email. It's just not a good look to send an email for something that's going to be, not very communicated in a warm way. So keep that in mind. If you're ever impaired, that could be things like at a late night drinking. Probably not good to sign into your work email and start hammering away. So certainly keep that in mind. And then another important thing that people may overlook, if you're doing things illegally, it's not a good idea to do things illegally in the first place. But if you are, I certainly would recommend against doing it over email. So anything that's going to be used against you, not the best way to send it via email. And we'll certainly, I think that's pretty common sense when it comes to that. If you're going to be a criminal, be a good criminal, but don't be a criminal. That's not advice I want you to take from this class. So here's an email. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's a pretty good email. It's got the opening there. It's got the closing. It's got a signature that's only a couple lines. The body's a tad on the long side, but it gets the message across. So we're going to look at a okay email here. Some slight issues with it here. One of the major issues, I guess, is that it says, please find our attached proposal for your consideration. They haven't yet attached the proposal, but I'm assuming they're going to. Thanks, and then he says, sincerely. You could honestly probably cut that out a little bit and just say thank you, and then Paul Smith. Again, I'd certainly recommend cutting that signature down a little bit. It's like 8 or 9 lines, probably a little bit more than is needed. So certainly keep that in mind, but it's okay. Now here's a bad email. So this is a email that's going out to basically every client that a firm has. And it's a marketing email. And there's several things that are bad with it. Who can tell me something that's bad with this email? What do you think? It is quite a long email. What else is bad with it? It is certainly using some different fonts there. Yes, sizes and bold and all that. What else is wrong with it? The topic? Okay. So yeah, in general, it's a pretty ill-advised idea to spam your own clients. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense, does it? So if someone's already using your firm for payroll, why would you send them information about using your firm for payroll? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So there's a lot of reasons not to do this. Here's a funny email example. Again, I'll just kind of briefly go through this. I don't know that it can be easily read from the room, unfortunately. Basically, we have a person here who is asking any color that you can add to your application will be appreciated. So Matthew here took this a little bit seriously, and he wrote in color here, where he added in his first sentence was red. It looks like his second sentence there is black. Then his third sentence is purple. Then he's got a green sentence in here, some sort of gold. I mean, it's he took the color a little bit literally. So kind of a humorous thing. You certainly wouldn't want to do this in a professional setting, though. I'd get a kick out of it, but not everyone would. So here's a phishing email. You certainly don't want to provide your any sort of personal information over email, but especially not to someone who is obviously scamming you. It's not going to be a beneficial thing. Let's take a quick look at the results and see what you all had to say about email. Okay. So we got some responses here. I'm just going to go through these briefly. I don't know about you all. I'm getting kind of hungry. It's almost lunchtime, isn't it? So the funniest email you've ever received, someone's watching you. A lot of people haven't gotten any funny emails. That's okay. People's dads sending them campus bookstore. I'm not going to comment on that for contractual reasons. Got called a deceiving witch. Farmersonly.com. Netflix password. Yes, no. Okay. Picture of a hippo. You can win. Yeah. So certainly lots of good emails here. I'm not going to go through all of them. Least professional email. Typos. Friend tells me a joke. Bad spelling. Yeah, I mean, certainly, having good grammar inside of an email is an important thing to do. You might have a mistake or two, but you don't want to do that on a consistent basis. So, looks like in this class, a lot of people like emails. Emails is kind of one of those topics that people either like them or they don't. You have some people who complain about emails, but then you ask them, well, what's the alternative to an email? Is it practical to go to someone's office every time you want to talk to them? Maybe, maybe not. I guess it kind of depends on what your current situation is. Do you prefer a phone call? What do people prefer over email? I've always wondered that. I think a lot of people probably prefer instant messaging of some sort, but I always find that kind of distracting, just on a personal thing. Favorite communication medium? By far is face-to-face. That's certainly the majority and the plurality here. Second place is kind of depending on the circumstances, and everything else is kind of the smaller percentage there. We don't really have a clear pattern here for the least favorite communication medium. The plurality here is going to be nonverbal. Then it depends is some people's least favorite. So lots of different opinions there. So just kind of wrap up today. We talked earlier in the semester about what we're doing in terms of everything being in Canvas. Make sure that you check out Canvas. You do have a due date coming up next Tuesday. Make sure that you do everything by then. Make sure that you do good emails as well. Any questions? All right, well, I hope you all have a great day.